informal science education, and we'll see what you think at the end. Just a little bit about my background. I'm trained as an ecologist, so my initial research was on behavioral ecology of vertebrates. So I worked with sparrows as an undergraduate. I worked with, this is eastern wood rat, studied house building behavior of this when I was a graduate student at Kansas State. And I was interested in theoretical issues related to sex ratio determination in deer. Working with mammals and birds is hard because they run around and they fly and you got to get up early to study them. So I retrained myself as a botanist for my PhD and spent much of my career doing plant ecology. As a graduate student, studying how parents invest resources in their offspring, in protecting them, dispersing them, and actually in the seeds themselves that keep them alive. And then when I came to Texas Tech, I spent many years studying the community ecology. Does anybody know what this plant is? This is Sanshinnery oak, Quercus ovardi, which is a clonal oak that grows about this tall. And you may not have known that this area, there's the area between eastern New Mexico through the Panhandle and southwestern Oklahoma, used to contain the largest geographically area of oaks anywhere in the country. And they're virtually all been removed. Over time, I switched my interest from science research to education, and here's why. So it's time for a quiz. You didn't know there was going to be a quiz, so let's see if you're smarter than a fifth grader. Here's the three questions. How long does it take to Earth to revolve around the sun? Did early humans and dinosaurs live on the Earth at the same time? And approximately what percentage of the Earth's surface is covered by water? You don't have to blurt this out. I don't want to embarrass anyone. But the real quiz is, what percentage of the American population do you think got each of these questions correct? So what do you guess?
60%.
60-ish?
60.
Okay.
It's a trick question.
Well, yeah, so anyway, the correct answer is I think it's 2 weeks, heck yes, and there's a little more ocean since it's been raining lately. I think those are the correct answers. And if you go and look at it, slightly over, this is results from a survey from California Academy of Sciences, slightly over half knew this answer, only 59% knew this, 47% knew that, and shockingly, only 21% got them all correct.
You'll have to admit 60% was good.
Okay. Yeah, no, your guess was right on. Yeah. Yes. And so the percentage of getting it all correct is not that much different than by random chance, which suggests to me that there's a lot of ignorance about environmental issues. And I think if you read the news, you know that ignorance is not limited to only environmental aspects of science. The outbreaks of whooping cough and things like that are suggesting there's a lot of ignorance out there. That can be a real problem. And it's fun to make, I think someone at the, is he left out? It's fun to make fun of us, that we have especially ignorant people, and I'm not sure whether we are more ignorant than other places around the world. In the traveling I've done, I think this is a global problem. We're lucky that there's a lot of really smart people out there that know a lot of stuff. So scientists are out there every day learning new information. So the knowledge is out there. What we need to do is to find ways to share it with the general public. And so, as you probably know, there's two broad foci of education. There's formal education that's taking place in schools and classrooms, and I did 2 hours of that already this morning. And I'm very pleased to see that STEM Core is including informal science education. The education occurs outside the classroom. And it can occur in a lot of places: museums, aquaria, botanical gardens, zoos, TV. The reason I'm here is probably the old farts will remember Marlon Perkins and Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom. He was a nature show when I was a kid. Jacques Cousteau also had influence over me. So there's a variety of places where education can take place out of the classroom, and we can take advantage of opportunities to use this. There is a Center for the Advancement of Informal Science Education, so I just ripped off some things from their website about thoughts about this. Interestingly, they think that humans are curious, and it might actually be fun to learn things, which I think is great. And that what's important to recognize, informal learning takes place throughout people's lives, and it takes place in a really personalized manner. So today, somebody might want to know something very different than they'll want to know 6 months from now. So you can't just design the one-size-fits-all informal science education process. It's often self-directed, so you can't tell people what they need to learn. And hopefully, if you provide people with a positive learning experience, they might even want to go learn more. So there's a lot of potential for informal science education. So we can think about where can we learn, where can people find out about the environment. And because of Al Gore, we now have the internets, and so we can actually use this as a resource. Here's the latest data I could find on internet penetration worldwide. And what you can see is that on average, almost 40% of the world potentially has access to internet. It's still relatively low in Africa and Asia, but if you look at what's happening in North America, almost 85% of people have access to the internet. And when I updated the data from a couple of years ago, Middle East has come very close to doubling. So these numbers I project are going to go up much faster in the future. So the internet can potentially reach a large portion of the population, but I don't want to burst your bubble, but there could be problems associated with the internet, in case you haven't figured this out yet. So here's another quiz. If you search Google for the following terms, how many returns do you expect? So there's a couple of very general ones, climate change and pollution, and a couple of specific ones, water issues on the southern high plains and Lubbock air quality. How many Google hits do you think you get?
Are we doing keyword phrase searching?
I'm just putting it into Google and
Okay.
getting the number, yeah. You're fancier at Google than I am. So the answer is yes, it's a lot. So 69 million responses for climate change, even something as specific as Lubbock air quality, over 500,000 responses. Now the likelihood is some of these are super valuable resources and would be very helpful for people to look at. Others are of poor quality, and many of them are just of unknown quality. So part of the problem is we don't know who's writing information on the internet. Is the Wikipedia article being edited by a 6-year-old girl? Is it the 1,000 monkeys locked in a room randomly typing? Right-wing pundits, or even worse, nefarious people that might be presenting this information.
Don't trust that guy.
Yeah, they don't trust it.
Kind of looks like Mr. Burns.
He does, anyway, this was a great picture of him for that. So we don't know where the information is coming from. That's one of the problems. And the other problem is not that there's too little information, there's too much information. There's information overload. So people that want to find answers need to know where is there usable and reliable information. And so that's the goal of the Encyclopedia of Earth. So it's a free online source of information about the environment. It is written by experts in the field, and it is peer reviewed. And it's www.eoearth.org. So go home and give it lots of hits today. That will be great. It is a collaboration between the National Council for Science and the Environment. The NCSE is an NGO whose purpose is to provide quality information for decision makers. They're located in Washington, D.C. Boston University was involved in the formation of the Encyclopedia of Earth, and now Texas Tech University, through my involvement in supporting a managing editor, play a major role in the Encyclopedia of Earth. The plan was to develop an international group of scholars that interacted together to provide useful information about the environment, defined in the most broadest sense. And that's one thing I want to say today. I'm an ecologist, so I have my particular view of my area of the environment, but the EOE is thinking about it in the broadest sense. The natural science, physical sciences, attributes of the social sciences, and we're also interested in arts and humanities. Yes, ma'am?
Sorry.
No problem.
I wanted to ask briefly, I didn't catch the domain. Is that a .com?
It's a .org.
Oh, it's an .org.
It's a .org. No, there is no. It's EOE.org.
Org.
EOEarth.
EOEarth.org.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess kind of the most important part. I should have shown that. So the purpose is that we would have this thing that we call dynamic reliability. And although we're not working on exactly on a wiki platform, this is like a wiki platform. And the idea that you could contribute to this, and then that other experts could come in and add to your article. So at some level, these articles could be produced by teams of scholars working together. And I have to say that this has not worked extremely well. And I think some of that comes from that most of us who are working on the EOE now are of my generation. And it's just kind of a creepy thing that we don't normally do. And I'm hoping there will be some more opportunities to do this. When people have wanted to make additions to my work, they have made the articles better. They brought a perspective I couldn't bring, and they've made the articles sufficiently, much better than I could do on my own. So I would like to figure out how can we stimulate more of this work. Our goal is a big one. We want to be the largest online source of reliable information about the environment in the world. And this is we want to be number one. I don't even come close to claiming that we are number one now. But that's the goal. How is the Encyclopedia of Earth different from other sources of information? All articles are written by experts, so you don't have access to the site until you've been approved as having a background that allows you to write the articles, and all articles undergo peer review. And this is not the same level of peer review that you would get from a peer-reviewed article, but of course you're writing small encyclopedic arguments. So hopefully that gives us a bit more reliability. So quality, of course, is very important of all of this. So we've tried to build in transparency such that everyone is working under their real name. So you don't have Jeff Stinky Pants 22 writing about his articles. You have a real person, and you can know who's done all of the work. Topic editors review all of the articles before they're published to the site. All the authors and topic editors should have a bio. So you would say, who is this person? I want to know what they know. You can look that up. And then all topic editors and all authors must be approved by members of the editorial board before the process starts. Okay, so where do the articles come from? They come from two main sources. They can just be written by experts in the field. So any of you that was interested could sit down and write an article, and a lot of articles come from that source. But we recognize there's a lot of great information already out there. So rather than simply reinventing the wheel all the time, we form content partner agreements with a large number of governmental organizations and NGOs. And these agreements vary between one group and the next, but in many cases we have permission to cut and paste articles from their website to the Encyclopedia of Earth as long as they're given proper credit for the work. So we have groups with World Wildlife Federation, the World Conservation Union, UNEP, IPCC. We do have the, from the 2007, we have not yet got the permission to do the latest reports, and a large number of the governmental agencies. And we also work closely with Encyclopedia of Life. I don't know if any of you know about it. Encyclopedia of Life is a project based out of the Harvard Museum of Natural History, or whatever they call that museum. It was sort of founded by E.O. Wilson and some of his co-workers. And their goal is to have an online page for every species on the Earth. And so more and more, we are starting to work quite closely with people at Encyclopedia of Life. And there's just an example of some of the content partners that we have. We try to have a basic format for the Encyclopedia of Earth article, so you'd be able to tell who the author is. You would be able to, it is possible to put links, so if you want to know about ecology, you can click and this will take you to the article on ecology. You can generally click on the figures and they'll pop up to full speed. Yes?
Does this get managed by a content management system, or if you know, or do the editors edit the markup language?
So the answer is I'm probably not answering this question correctly. We have a high-tech company that has developed an interface that you go.
Yeah,
yes.
Content management.
Yeah, so there's a content manager. You go, and it's pretty intuitive and simple.
Okay,
yeah.
I was just curious.
No, it's not any. No. Yes, and so. Oh wow! I didn't know I could do this. You know who the author is? Oh, see, I can't do this on my computer. Oh, this is so fun. Let's move on. I don't want to do that anymore. There we go. So, and there is a citation format for citing these arguments. And I was looking up some citation information the other day, and some of these EOE articles are starting to get cited in some of the citation indices, which I think is kind of cool. And so if you click on, this is Emmett Duffy, who wrote a number of articles, then you can learn all about Emmett. So this information ideally should be available for all contributors. Okay, so what does it take to make an Encyclopedia of Earth article? First of all, you have to contact Encyclopedia of Earth and say, I would like to be involved. And you would send in your CV, and that would be looked at by the review committee. And now all that work is done online. So once you have approval, then you have a password that allows you to get into the content management system, and you can start doing real damage to the system. So the articles are created on the system. The formatting is easy to learn. Even a middle-aged guy like me has been able to figure out how to work it pretty well. There is some basic training available that we can help you on. When you think the article is ready, you should click a button that sends information to a managing editor, who then finds a topic editor. They review the article, and if they approve it, they push the button, and it magically appears for everyone to see. Jeff, does it always work this smoothly?
Perfectly.
No, it doesn't always. I'm trying to be honest here. This is how it should work in a dream world. Okay, so the Encyclopedia of Earth was launched. The two guys that were strongest behind it were Peter Sondry from the National Council of Science and Environment, and Cutler Cleveland, who's a geographer from Boston University. It was launched in September of 2006. I became involved with the project at the end of 2006. So we built it. Did they come? And the answer is sort of. So this is plotting from 2006 until 2012, and that's when we lost access to this data, this is the number of unique visitors per month. And for a while it was very exciting. We had exponential growth, and then some flattening, and then some exponential growth. In our best month, and we don't really know what happened in March 2011, at over 700,000 visits in that month. On average, and this is averaged on to today, we sort of reached the plateau and are bouncing around here. We're getting somewhere between 300,000, 4,000, 100,000 individual visits per month. And as you can see from looking at this, there tends to be a drop-off in the summer months, and that suggests that some of our visit is driven by what's happening in North American school systems. So it suggests that schools are making up a big portion of our users. So as of the latest statistics, there's some amount of fudge in this. Let's say 300,000 to 350,000 visits per month, over 770 articles, 860 authors from around the world have contributed, nearly 200 people serving as topic editors. The articles are arranged by topic from A to Z, starting with agricultural and resource economics, and of course, Z always stands for zoology, and anything in between. And if we don't have a topic designed for something you're interested in now, we can certainly add new ones. We try to organize our information in a variety of ways. Some of it's organized in collections. So I'm the editor of the ecology collection and of the world ecoregion collections. We have collections on coral reefs, collections on things such as narrowly focused on the lives and works of Aldo Leopold, and climate change. And these exist in different levels of maturity. We have a few books. People have put some books up on the Encyclopedia of Earth. We have a textbook, Robert Costanza's Intro to Ecological Economics, is available for free online. And also we have some environmental classics. So you can go and read Origin of Species by some scientist, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Darwin guy, down to Jimmy Carter's famous Malaise speech. And many people around the world have said that this is a very valuable component of this because they're not able to buy the books themselves. And we've not really built up this aspect of the encyclopedia as much as we potentially could. So what articles are read the most often? And again, I've not had access, I've only recently got access to the Google Analytics. So this is old data, but I have no reason to think things would have changed significantly. Here are the top 20 articles that are most often clicked in the Encyclopedia of Earth, including things like food web, specific examples of an environmental calamity. This author on photosynthesis is mine, so I know why people are reading that, because it's amazing. And this is a pretty interesting group of topics. You see things like stomata. Anybody know what a stomata is? Like stupid little pores in a plant leaf that they use to breathe. And poaching. It's kind of weird what comes on our list, and I have a bit to say about that in a moment. But this is a fair number of page views. So So 425 page views on average per day for a food web article. I went through and calculated for the articles I've written. I've written about 190 articles now. Some are quite specific, some are sort of general ecological topics. And if you do the math, it would be the saying that one of my articles gets looked at every 3 minutes. And that's a lot more than my science papers have been cited, and it's way more than my teaching blogs get clicked. So someone out there is at least clicking on them, which is exciting. Where do people find the Encyclopedia of Earth? They're finding it through search engines, and by far most of the traffic is driven by Google. And we have some links to other referring sites, and sometimes people are finding it in some direct random form. We have a little bit of data about what people do once they arrive. The average time people spend on the site is 5 minutes, and the bounce rate, I think the bounce rate is the number of people that come to the site and then immediately leave. That's also relatively high, which suggests that users are coming because they want to know about a particular topic, and we're not enticing them to stay and click buttons and browse, which is a little disappointing, but that tells us something about how people are using it. Again, this whole notion of why stomata and poaching were in the top 20, and if you go and Google or when I looked at this a couple years ago, when you Google these articles, these both come up as the number 2 article on the Google search. Wikipedia is number 1 for virtually everything, and this comes number 2. So I did a little fooling around with this data. If you take if you assume that Wikipedia is and you can get numbers of visitors to Wikipedia. If you think that numbers of visits to Wikipedia tells you something about how interested people are in learning about a topic, I took the Wikipedia numbers and compared them. I plotted the number of Wikipedia visits with the number of Encyclopedia of Earth visits, and there was no correlation at all. However, if you did that for only those Encyclopedia of Earth articles that showed up on the first page of the Wikipedia search, now there was a very strong positive correlation. So the reason that our articles on things like global climate change are not getting read as often as they might is that when people are searching Google, they're not going. I spent a lot of times going to page 27 to see how deeply you need to go in to find some of these things. So someone that knew how to play Google game could probably help the Encyclopedia of Earth reach our audience a little better. This is truly international usage, so slightly less than half of the visitors come from the United States, so the rest are from abroad. The top 10 includes a number of Asian countries, India, Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia. I spent a sabbatical in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia in 2010, trying to develop a Malaysia collection for the Encyclopedia of Earth, so I don't know whether this shows I had some success or whether they're just super interested in the environment. I'll take it as my own personal success. But so there's a lot of people are looking at this around the world. Talk a little bit about the management of it. There is a EOE editorial committee contains a number of people from around the United States. I currently serve as editor-in-chief. I've been editor-in-chief since November of 2012. We have a managing editor who's TTU, Sherry Hartling, and Sherry is funded half-time by the Honors College. And she's the only paid person involved in this whole project. There is an international advisory board, and at least from the biology side, this is a fairly impressive list of people. Unfortunately, they've never really done anything, so they sit on the website and look impressive, and perhaps it's time to find an advisory board that's truly more international and would provide more insight. The funding of this is quite complex. The EOE was formed in collaboration with a high-tech company that has since gone out of business, and then it is now funded by another high-tech company known as Trinity, and their goal, I think, is they're starting to try to sell online education information, online textbooks and things like that. And I think that their interest in the Encyclopedia of Earth is they think that information on the Encyclopedia of Earth can be used as the basis for educational materials. I'm working on a textbook for school teachers right now. But what's happened is, as Trinity has become more and more focused on making money, they make changes in their system, which has unintended consequences back on the functioning of our system. So at some level, this interaction between this group and the Encyclopedia of Earth is strained right now, to say the least, and we're considering what would it take to find other ways of hosting this. So, and I don't even know, I say those words only because I've heard other people say them. I don't really even know what would be involved in making that happen. But this is all basically run on no budget, and it's run out of the goodwill of people that are participating in the project. So I find myself leader of a project where I have neither carrots nor sticks to make people do anything. Make Jeff do things now and then. So we have a lot of challenges, and it's just time to face up to those. There are resource challenges. Money would help us do more things. Finding people to be involved is difficult. The technical issues remain a problem. We've had a lot of discussion about how to fund this, and we've tried to stay ad-free. We were worried that anytime you allow advertising to move in, that's when big oil comes in, and then you lose your objectivity. We were working, I was not, Peter Sondry from NCSE was getting close to getting some interest from some of the big foundations right before the stock market crash in 2009. And we're just now starting to re-explore some of those options. How do we get more scholars to participate? Has been a real issue. What I find when I talk about this to most people on campus, they go, this is a really great idea, good luck to you, but I don't know how I can be involved because it doesn't count for their tenure and their promotion, and it doesn't count for grants. And I've got to say, I've been very fortunate that basically the bulk of my scholarly efforts now are focused this way. I have a joint appointment where I'm partially in the biology department and partially in the honors college, and both of those groups have been very supportive to me, but my general colleagues don't feel that support. The same thing happened when I was in Malaysia. Right before I got to Malaysia, the university had a new president who basically said, you will all publish papers in the journal Science this year, and they hadn't published in a journal outside of Malaysia ever. And so they just freaked out the whole year I was there, so I just kind of sat in an office by myself. And I wished I had made connections with the NGOs. That would have been much more effective. I think there's opportunities to become much more international, and in a way, I think people overseas need this resource more than people here. We have access to information in libraries in ways that they don't in many other parts of the world. We're really trying to figure out who the target audience is. I think it's best to define our target audience very broadly, so we try to aim from a high-end, smart high school kid to what we call the science-attentive adult. But I think there is opportunities to have articles that are general and articles that are much more specific. And we've argued about which way our focus should be, and in reality the focus is whichever way the active people that are doing it. So I don't want to tell anyone who's at all interested in participating, no, you should not do that. So right now it has a very sort of idiosyncratic approach based on the interests of the people who are involved. And again, how do you direct the activities of an entirely voluntary pool of contributors? Anyone that knows something about that kind of management and can give me some ideas, please let me know. Keeping up with changes in technology. I have one of these. So I'm pretty, this is a phone actually, you might not recognize that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly. I got one of these because my mother said, if you don't get a phone, I'm coming to Lubbock and buying you one. So I went and bought the cheapest one I could have so I could call her once a week. Everyone carries the internet with them in their pocket now, and I don't really know how these things work at that level. So we need to be making sure that anything we do is accessible by the way that people are really trying to get information. That's way out of my area of expertise. And then there's lots of opportunities for publicity and marketing. We have a product. I'm not sure that very many people know about it. So some of the solutions I have, at least to the content development part, is that we need to create actively interacting subgroups. And so these subgroups could focus on geographic regions, they could focus on groups of organisms, they could focus on an issue. And what we would like then, what I sort of envision would be great, is if they have a spin-off of a mammal group And then the mammal people are working together. People from Texas are working with people in Africa. People with terrestrial mammals are working with the marine mammals, such that they would have a network of reviewers that could review their articles. You might have a whole group set in Kenya. You might have people whose interests are in energy. They've tried to spawn the development of more of these groups, and that's proven to be harder than I thought it might be. So some of the solutions that I hope to try in the future is trying to focus on NGOs rather than universities. The purpose of many of these environmental organizations is education. They pay people to do that, and so they might be easier to work with than professors. And I think graduate students are a great place to start on this. So I really encourage graduate students to be involved and people to encourage their graduate students to be involved. I think that there's, if I was running PhD students, I would require every PhD student to do this as part of their qualifying exam. I think being able to take complex information and explain it simply to the general public is a very important skill. And so we have a few graduate students involved, but not as many as I hope. Some current initiatives that are in various stages of development and have plus and minus levels of success. Lakhdar Baku, who is an African researcher now located in Florida, has organized a meeting of African scientists interested in African climate, and they're supposed to be developing a climate collection. I'm also collaborating with a man in South Africa who's trying to develop collaborations between the Encyclopedia of Earth, Encyclopedia of Life, and UNESCO, and some of the biosphere reserves. I'm hoping to be visiting Africa as part of this next month, but I'm never really sure if this is going to happen or not. Texas AgriLife, which is sort of the old ag extension part of Texas A&M. I've talked to them a bit about being involved. Caitlin Thogmartin is undergrad working in my lab now. She spent this summer as an intern in Big Bend National Park, and we have connections there. We're going to try to develop a Big Bend National Park collection through the next year. So that's a little bit about what's going on. And at this point, what I do is I'd like to invite Texas Tech to become involved, because I think there's lots of opportunities. So invite people to become contributors as author, topic editor. If you're interested in being more involved in the leadership, there's a lot of opportunities for that. Jeff has been an active participant both as a writer and an editor. It's not too super painful, is it?
Not too bad.
Not too bad. If you're interested in organizing a collection of information, if you ask me, is there a collection about, my answer is probably no, and you should go do one. So I'm hoping that people are going to watch this on the video, that people from plant and soil sciences, agricultural colleges, people from out of the Institute of Environment and Human Health, there's lots and lots of opportunities for tech to get involved and take a lead in this. Harass your colleagues and students to become more involved. Don't be proud or shy. And I think it's very important that we continue to inform the administrators about the importance of science education. And I think that's a very important role of STEM Corps. And I think the fact that the tech administration has supported the development of STEM Corps suggests that they actually do value these sorts of relationships. So I feel good to be here. We do have a program called the Student Science Communication Project. And this is a program that allows undergraduate and graduate students to write Encyclopedia of Earth articles as part of a class assignment. So they would need to collaborate with a knowledgeable expert in the field. Often that the students, they're just working with me. We write articles together and then they are published. And I think I've published with 20-some undergraduates.